Year 11 and welcome to your lesson for Tuesday the 24th of November 2020. I hope you're well. I hope you're well at home as you work away. All right, this is the same PowerPoint I will be using in the classroom, so you'll be just as up to date as everybody in school is. Okay, and today our focus is on question 3. For now though, I have put a quick retrieval quiz on the board, so if you'd like to pause the lesson here, pause the video, have a go at the questions and then play it again in a minute where I'll run through the answers. Okay, hopefully by now you've managed to have a look at those questions and come up with some answers, which I will go through now. Question 1 there. For question 2, what, how, why equals what? What are the words that I use to help explain how we can do the what, how, why structure in a bit more detail? And those 3 words were statement, quotation, inference. Okay, what, how, why, SQI. You're still following the what, how, why structure. We've just changed the phrasing a little bit to make you a bit more aware of what you kind of need to include for each one. Right, statement, quotation, inference. Question 2, what should the order of your paper 1 question 5 paragraphs be? We're looking back now to paper 1, the creative writing side of things, and that structure, that paragraph structure we give you to help you structure your answer correctly, or not correctly as such, but in a way that is going to earn you more marks, okay? So paragraph 1, we are looking at the setting and the weather. Paragraph 2, zooming in on the character. Paragraph 3, having a flashback. Paragraph 4, we are looking at creating a change in the mood normally linked to the flashback. And then paragraph 5 is very short, 1 sentence, where you make a link back to the opening to create that circular structure. Question 3, what type of writing does paper 2 focus on? It focuses on non-fiction writing, writing about real life things, okay, newspaper articles, journalism, biographies, those kind of things. Question 4, how many sources will you be required to read for paper 2? 2 sources, you must read 2 things for paper 2, all right? And then question 5, in which questions will you need to refer to source B as well as source A, okay? In which questions will you need to refer to both sources? That's question 2, where you have to look at A and B, and question 4, where you have to look at source A and B. Okay, so we're looking at both sources in those 2 questions. Moving on then, once again, by the end of this sequence of lessons, you should hopefully understand how to approach each question. Okay, by the end of this sequence of lessons, you should understand how to approach each question in a bit more detail, and once again, be able to collectively build answers to each question. Again, we are layering on the support again. Now we're back at the start of a paper. As we move through, you will gain more and more independence as we take away those layers of support, okay? So this is the question for question 3. You now need to refer only to source A. Question 3, we are only looking at source A. These are some of the key things you need to pick up from the question. So get used to identifying these little ideas. Okay, source A, lines 27 to 40. Those are our keywords in that first line. And the question, how does the writer use language to describe the coal tips? We're just focusing on the coal tips. Language, describe, coal tips are keywords there. And there's a 12-mark question, so we want to aim to spend about 12 marks answering it. So this is where those notes that we put at the side of the paragraphs, once again, will come in handy. As I put on there, look at your copies of the text. Based on your notes at the sides of each paragraph, I know you might not have that at home, but I know we did talk through it a couple of videos ago. Which paragraphs are you instantly aware you can refer to? All right, so if I go back to our copies of the sources, which I will put on the screen, when we read through, we noted that it was paragraphs 4 and 5 that referred explicitly to the coal tips, because the notes that I have next to mine, this paragraph 4 is coal tips, and then on the next one it's coal tips dangerous, and then moving down to the next paragraph as well, tip 7 dangerous. Okay, so these 3 paragraphs here, paragraphs 4, 5 and 6, are the 3 that we're going to want to focus on. And again, this is where these notes next to the paragraphs come in handy, because I can just look and go, oh, where were we describing the coal tips? And oh look, there we are, paragraph 4, 5 and 6. So just quickly nipping back to that question there. The next task I was going to give you is to read through those paragraphs, those 3 paragraphs, and highlight any descriptions of the coal tips. That is what the question is about. How does the writer use language to describe the coal tips? Okay, so I'm going to go back to that copy of the extract on the screen there. And we are just looking at paragraphs 4, 5 and 6. I don't think you can see my mouse, so you won't be able to see what I am highlighting, but oh, that might work. So looking at paragraph 4, 5 and 6. So the first one there, a coal mine sends to the surface more waste than coal, and a mining village has to learn to live with it. It must be put somewhere or the mine will close and it's too expensive to carry it far. So the tips grow everywhere, straddling the hillsides, nudging the houses like black-furred beasts. Almost everyone from time to time has seen danger in them, but mostly they are endured as a fact of life. So we could look at the bit there where it says that they are described like black-furred beasts, but I want to look at the next paragraph, I think, more so, because then we go to focus solely on the coal tips, because that's referring to coal tips in other places other than Aberfan, and we just want to look at them in Aberfan. So moving on to the next paragraph. On the mountain above Aberfan, there were 7 such tips. Ta-da! The evening sun sank early behind them. To some of the younger generation, they had always been there, as though dumped by the hand of God. They could be seen from the school windows immediately below them, rising like black pyramids in the western sky. But they were not as solid as they looked. It was known that several had moved in the past, inching ominously down the mountain. Okay, something's moving ominously. It's it's a little bit scary. Okay, it's kind of moving slowly towards you, but it's suspicious. It's something to be concerned about. So I am going to highlight some things from that paragraph. Paragraph 5 there. I'm going to put that they were rising like black pyramids. Definitely, I'd highlight that if I could on the screen. I would also look at this description here, that they were inching ominously down the mountain, and we're looking at a good use of language. Okay, inching ominously. I like the use of that there. And then moving into the next paragraph, what was not known, however, was that the newest tip, number 7, was a killer with a rotten heart. It had begun in Easter 1958 and was built on a mountain spring, most treacherous of all foundations. A mountain spring is something that lets water out of it, okay, with its water coming up from underground. So when you mix that with coal waste, it's not a good combination. You've got water running through it, it's more likely to dislodge. Gradually over the years, the fatal seeping of water was turning tip 7 into a mountain of moving muck. That is how it is described. Okay, and in this paragraph, I would look at highlighting the following. All right, was a killer with a rotten heart. So I'd most definitely be looking at that water description that is there. All right, describing it as a killer. And I then also look at highlighting the bit that says most treacherous of all foundations, that bit there. Gradually over the years, the fatal seeping of water was turning tip 7 into a mountain of moving muck. Look at that bit of alliteration we've got going on there. Into a mountain of moving muck. Okay, those are the bits that I would look at highlighting. If you have a copy, I would consider doing the same. Okay, so then going back onto the PowerPoint, once again, I'm going to introduce you to the how many marks slide. How can you earn your marks? For this question will be our next slide. But how many marks? What will earn you a certain number of marks? If we're aiming for around 7 to 9 marks, we need to once again be showing clear understanding of language. The question focuses on language, and once again, that level 3 question is asking you to show a clear understanding. You should explain clearly the effects of the writer's choices of language. Select a range of relevant textual detail and make clear and accurate use of subject terminology. But if we are pushing for those top marks, 10 to 12 marks, you need to look at analysing the effects of the writer's choice of language. Once again, we are focusing solely on the language, not focusing on anything else other than their use of language. You need to select a judicious range of textual details, the best quotations possible, the things you can say the most about. And then to make sophisticated and accurate use of subject terminology. That is our aim for this question. We are going to aim for this top mark level in our writing. And once again, how can you earn your marks? A good way to think about how you can earn your marks for question 3 might be the following. All right, so once again, we've got that what, how, why, statement, quotation, inference. What, how, why, SQI. Okay, but this time I've put double the inference on the screen because we want to look at stretching it out as much as possible. Okay, not only making one comment on some inference, but you might want to make a comment on a second thing. You might want to make an inference about. You might even make 2 inferences about the same thing. That will become clear when we go through the examples a little bit later on. We're not just looking for 1 inference, we're looking for 2. We want you to stretch it out because you could see the following as a way to earn your marks, and this will hopefully help you in your structuring of the text. So, statement, quotation, inference, inference, statement, quotation, inference, inference, statement, quotation, inference, inference. This question is worth 12 marks. I have put 12 things on the screen. Once again, as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that following the structure will most definitely get you the top marks. However, following the structure will definitely help you on the way there. Okay, if you're taking the time and you have the ability to be able to do these things, then you're more likely to be pushing towards that top band. And this is the structure that our paragraphs are going to take, all right? We're going to make a statement with a quotation. Remember, they can be involved in the same sentence, but then it's the inferences that we are going to really expand upon, okay? So what each paragraph will contain a statement with the evidence, and then we're going to try and make at least 2 inferences. Based on our quotation. But remember, your statement and quotations don't necessarily need to be in separate sentences, so long as you include them both. And again, stretch out the inference. You might make an inference from both the whole quote as well as one word from it. You could decide to make more than one inference on the same thing. And again, we'll go through examples of both in our practice writing. So if you're in lesson right now, I'd be giving you a table that looks a little bit like this, all right? This is the table we will be using to help plan our writing, to plan what we are going to be doing. But we're going to be taking this step by step with paragraph by paragraph. The first paragraph, I'm going to present you with a written paragraph, and we're going to kind of plan it backwards. So we've got the writing there, so then going to pull the plan out of that writing so you can kind of see how you might plan one of these top level answers. For paragraph 2, I'm going to present you with a plan and collectively, so I will do it on the screen. I will turn that plan into the writing. Whereas for paragraph 3, once again, I will present you with the plan, and then it'll be your job to have a go at taking that information and putting it into the writing frame that we have on there. So starting straight off with paragraph 1, as I said, we have a blank planning table there. The SQII refers to statement, quotation, inference, and then we have a first paragraph there that does all 4 of those things. Our job is to transfer the information, all right, it can be in note form, from that paragraph across into the table. And I'm going to do this on the screen, okay? So if we're in class, we'd all get included, but for now, I'm just going to do this as it is. So I'll read through it first, and then we'll look at moving things across. So, the writer uses language to describe the coal tips as dark, dangerous, and sinister for the reader, and in doing so makes effective use of personification to single out coal tip number 7 as a killer with a rotten heart. Here, the emotive adjective rotten creates the impression of a malevolent being. This is because rotten can have several connotations, but all of them are negative. For example, it makes a link for the reader with decay, death, but just as importantly, is suggestive of evil intent. It is as if it sets out to deliberately kill the children. This is just one paragraph, so we're aiming for 3 of this kind of standard for this question, all right? But as I said, I'm going to transfer this over into the table on the left. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top. The writer uses language to describe the coal tips as dark, dangerous, and sinister for the reader, and in doing so makes effective use of personification to single out coal tip number 7 as a killer with a rotten heart. What we have there is the statement and the quotation thrown in together. Okay, as I said, they don't need to be in separate sentences. You just need to make sure both of them are included quite clearly. So the first bit there, the writer uses language to describe the coal tips as dark, dangerous, and sinister for the reader, I would say is my statement. That is my statement there. It stops at and, okay? That's when I'm joining on a second part of that sentence. So what I would make a note of in the table over here is I would perhaps put like coal tips and then put those words dark, dangerous, and sinister for the reader. Okay, and then I put the second bit into the quotation box. So it makes effective use of personification. So I might put personification and then the quotation, killer with a rotten heart. All right, that first half just there. All right, the first sentence on the screen there, linking over to the statement box and the quotation box. That means that we've already done our statement and quotation, that the next section of the paragraph, the largest section of the paragraph, is all inference. And this is what I mean about stretching out your inference. So how does it go? Here, the emotive adjective rotten, that's what we are focusing on. We are zooming in on that one word rotten, creates the impression of a malevolent being. That is the part of one inference. So I'd put perhaps the word rotten and then put a bullet point or something just saying malevolent being. Okay. However, then it carries on stretching out just that one inference by saying this is because, and because is a really key word in your writing, because by including the word because, it really makes you then stretch out the reasoning and share those inferences you can come up with. So this is because rotten can have several connotations, but all of them are negative. This would all still be going into the first inference box there, okay? I might put another bullet point saying rotten has negative connotations. And then we're moving on to our second inference here. For example, it makes a link for the reader with decay, death, but just as importantly, is suggestive of evil intent. So once again, I'm gonna put rotten here and be like, death, decay, evil. It is if it sets out to deliberately kill the children. Again, not only have we put the for example, we've also then made that extra statement. It is as if it sets out to deliberately kill the children. So my table would look a little bit like this, okay? pulling all of those sections that I looked at in that paragraph over into the table. All right, so just to show you how a paragraph that's written like this might be planned, but I thought we'd do it backwards there, just so that you can see how the plan can come into being. So moving on to the second paragraph here. As I said, I was going to put the plan on the screen and we're going to have a go, or I'm going to model this on the screen, putting that information into the writing frame. So here we are, okay? I'm just going to do this on the screen, all right? I just had to zoom out a little bit so that I can edit what's happening. So my aim is to move my statement bit here, cold tip, ongoing, movement slow, imperceptible. That I'm going to pop with the arrow into that first line there, all right? So the writing frame is on the screen and I'm going to use it to insert that information from the plan. So I'm going to put the cold tips are described as slow, imperceptible, imperceptible, and ongoing. Okay, the three words that I've got in there: ongoing, movement, slow, and imperceptible. As suggested by that, and if you'll notice, I've got a little gap before I've got the quotation marks. This is because I want to include what, use that subject terminology to identify what is in the quotation. Okay, so it's a verb phrase, inching ominously. So as suggested by the verb phrase, okay, using that bit in that second box, the quotation box, once again, your statement and quotation don't have to be in separate sentences, they can be together. But the verb phrase, inching ominously. Okay, moving on to the next bit, our first inference, as with the table there, okay? Adverb ominously forewarns the disaster to come. The sentence frame I have there is the something something forewarns the disaster to come. What I need to put in there is the adverb bit. Again, there's that space before the quotation marks where I'm going to aim to name the word class. The adverb, and I'm just going to put ominously. So I'm zooming in on one part of the quotation there. Adverb ominously forewarns of the disaster to come. And I'm then going to aim to make that second inference. The writer draws on horror conventions to pull the reader into his account, clear villain, and a set of victims within the writing. Okay, the villain is the cold tips, and the victims are obviously the students who were unfortunately in the school at the time of the incident. Okay, so that bottom inference box there, I'm then going to follow the arrow and include it in that part of the sentence starters. So additionally, the writer appears to draw on, let's say, conventions of the horror genre. Okay, I'm expanding these into full sentences that sound academic. To pull the reader into his account. Okay, that's to help the reader understand where he's coming from, into his account of the event. Semicolon there, okay, rather than including a conjunction, popping a semicolon in there. A good use of it, leading on to my next point. The article has a clear, this is where the villain and set of victims come from. So it has a clear villain and set of victims. Okay, so ideally that's what we were looking for in this writing. Okay, something along those lines. If you have followed along and written that down as well, ideal. Okay, but the next bit is going to be what puts your new knowledge to the test. All right, because on the next section, I'm once again going to present you with the plan and the sentence starters, but your job is to independently, okay, whether you be at home or wherever you may be doing this work, or whether you be doing it in your school book, whether you just have some paper there that you're working on, to have a go at transferring that information into the paragraphs. All right, and I'm going to pop that up. Oh, no, go back. Oh, where'd it go? Apologies, just a slight technical issue there, but all is well. Popping that back on the screen. So there we go. So in class, we will be looking at filling this out now, but I'm giving it to you as you are working from home. So there we have it. I have the plan for paragraph 3 on the left-hand side. Your statement is going to have something to do with the fact that the writer describes cold tips as large, overbearing, and formidable structures. Remember, in our plans, they don't have to be full sentences. They can be notes. That's kind of what we've got here. Your job is to make sure it sounds like it's nice and academic as you transfer it into the writing frame. The quotation there, rising like black pyramids, that's the quotation I've picked for this bit, all right, from that source A. And that is a simile that we've got going on there. So I can name the word class, I can use subject terminology to name what's happening. The first inference we're going to make there, just the word rise and the verb rising, which reinforces the idea that a cold tip is malevolent, intending to cause harm, because rising suggests something is moving up or onwards on purpose. I put the word because in there, because you putting that word because, as I've said, helps you to stretch out your ideas. And then moving on to the second inference there. All right, focusing on the adjective black, links to sinister, evil, adds to concept that the tips move with malicious intent. All right, something using that descriptive word. So your task now, okay, is to use that plan, transfer the notes in the plan over into the writing frame. So the writing frame, as you've got it there, it says moreover, okay, another discourse marker to show that we are adding more information. Moreover, the writer describes the call tips as d, d, and d. Okay, we've got a list, 3-point list, different adjectives that we can use to describe the call tips. In the effective use of the, remember there's the space there before the quotation marks, which suggests you might need to name the word class or the device being used, and then inserting that quotation there. Here, there's something, again, that space before the quotes. You need to name the word class of the thing you're about to put inside the quotes. So here there's something reinforces the idea that the call tip is A, and refer back to the notes. Okay, the word reinforces is in there. You can use the notes that are in there. And then this is because, all right, putting that quotation in again, suggests that use the notes in the table. We're still on the first inference box here to finish that sentence. So we move on to furthermore. This is where we then stretch into the last inference box there. Furthermore, the once again word before the quote, name the word class. Furthermore, the something something intimates, which is another word for suggests, that the call tips are something and something. Look at the notes in the plan, fill the gaps. Further adding to the concept that they finish the sentence, use the notes in the plan. So pause the video here, have a go at transferring that information into the paragraph there, okay? Once you've done so, play the video again, all right, because I will go through where the information could have gone. But I would like you to pause the video here and have a go at this task yourself. Off you go. Excellent. Hopefully by now you've managed to have a go at writing that paragraph. So what I've done is I put on the screen what your paragraph might look like. If you haven't got it word for word, don't worry, of course. All right, but this is what I might have put together using those sentence frames and that plan, okay? So I start off my paragraph. Moreover, the writer describes the call tips as large, overbearing, and formidable structures. In the effective use of the simile, I'm naming what's happening. Rising like black pyramids. Here, the verb rising reinforces the idea that the call tip is a malevolent being with the intention of causing harm. We're linking back to that first paragraph. Okay, I'm in my first inference box here now. This is because, again, using that word because, the first inference box, because rising suggests that something is moving upwards or onwards, ready to meet a certain aim. Furthermore, moving into the second inference box, the adjective black intimates that the call tips are sinister and evil, further adding to the concept that they move with malicious intent. There we are, okay, taking that information from the table on the left into the paragraph there. So if you have something along those lines, bravo, well done. All right, so you have successfully managed to move things over, okay? Remember, we are only on our first run through there. This is only our first attempt at question 3. We are going to do this time and time and time again. We will get used to doing it. And that is the end of today's lesson, okay? Once again, I've just put those objectives on the board as I make a habit of doing. By the end of the sequence of lessons, you should understand how to approach each question and be able to collectively build answers to each question. We've now done questions 1, 2, and 3. Hooray! Just question 4 to do, which will be next week. All right, so thank you for watching. Well done for taking part. I do hope you are safe and well. Please feel free to send any work in, either via Show My Homework, or via your school email if needed. I am happy to take a look and get back to you. But otherwise, stay safe and hopefully I'll see you for the next lesson. Okay, bye.